Hello. So I'm home, which is great. And I thought I would kind of go over the whole hospital experience, sit down and talk about it because it was intense. A lot happened, and maybe it's a good story to share. I don't know. I mean, from from me talking about chronic pain recently, I've realized a lot of people suffer. And even though it's not nice knowing that your friends, family, loved ones, mutuals, strangers go through these things, it can also bring some comfort to others who are going through it because you know you're not alone. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning I'm just going to start from the beginning. On Wednesday morning, I made an appointment with the local GP because I was having intense pain on the right side. Basically, I can't actually show you. So underneath my rib, or below my rib on my abdomen, and then through to the back, towards, so like, I guess it's your kidney area, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, intense right abdominal pain piercing through the back. Okay. So this has been going on for a couple days, since Sunday. And so to, okay, sorry, I should backtrack. So pain started Sunday. Monday I went to the doctor. She suspected a kidney infection, so gave me antibiotics. Wednesday, pain still intense, getting more intense, antibiotics haven't done anything. I go to the doctor. They schedule an ultrasound, which I can't get done until the following Tuesday. And I was sitting in his office crying because I was like, look, I am in pain and it's not going away. What do I do? And he suggested I bring myself to the emergency room because there's not a whole lot they can do. And I could talk about the NHS and all its problems, but it's a topic for another day. So, yeah, he tells me if you're in that much pain, go there, see if they can do something for you. And I've gone to the emergency room before and been turned away because it's not emergency enough. So I wasn't sure about doing this, but I had to. I was in so much pain, and even if they were going to turn me away, I had to at least try, right? So I went home, told my other half, ate something really small because part of the symptoms I've been having is I've been having a hard time eating. It just hurts every time I do. But if I eat just really basic foods, like, well, in this instance, just like really plain store-bought pancakes, it was fine. Just really starchy things seem to be okay. Everything else is like a no. So I had two of those. That was the only thing I ended up eating that day. And I took the bus to the emergency room. Got to the emergency room, was from the board, they said it was going to take about an hour to be seen. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll be here an hour, and that's not so bad. And then yeah, well, registered, sat down. It took an hour for triage to see me, so yay. And then another hour after that, I hadn't been seen yet. At that point, I was sitting and I was just in so much pain, like incredible amounts of pain. Like I couldn't sit. Sitting hurts. Not as much now, but sitting hurt. Like standing, sitting. I was desperate to lie down, but you're in an emergency room. You're not going to lie down on the floor, right? So I got up and I tried to speak to reception and I was like, look, I'm not trying to push ahead of anyone, but I am in so much pain. Is there somewhere I can lie down? And I think they did think I was trying to push ahead of other people, and like that wasn't the case. So I started crying because it's a really horrible realization that, like, I'm young, I'm 29, and I'm in so much pain I can't sit, and I need help. And it's scary to admit that, it's scary to realize that. So yeah, I was crying at reception. So what they did is they told me to just sit back down and they'll see what they can do. And then I think maybe 10, 15 minutes later, one of the nurses got me and took me to a side room so she could take some blood. So what they did from there, she let me stay in that room, which was great because I could actually lie down. So I was just, yeah, fetal position on my side in that room. But they stuck a blood tap in me. I've never had one of those before. And they took a good couple vials of blood and then just left the tap in me. And I was like, okay, Nina juice? It was weird, but I was like, I don't care. I can lie down. This is good. Like I was still in pain lying down, but less so. Like I could maybe manage lying down, where sitting was just too much. It just I keep trying to think of a way to describe the pain, and it genuinely felt like someone had put a spear through that area, like spear right above my right hip in the back, and that came out to the top, bleh, yeah, the top of my abdominal area on the right. And it was throbbing, it was stinging, it was just awful. So, yeah, I got to stay in that room for a little bit. When they came back, they said, right, we're taking you out of minor A&E, minor accidents and emergency, and you're going to go to the main one, and a doctor's going to see you there. And I'm like, what? Oh, okay. And at this point, I'm like, did they find something in the blood? Did they, like, I've, yeah, I was very confused. But anyway, yeah, went to, luckily the buildings are really close together, so like if this was the main A&E, sorry, the small accidents and emergency, you go out 3 steps, that's the main building. So it wasn't that far away, which was great. And yeah, I went in and told them, well, basically, I didn't have to say anything. They said I could just sit down and doctor would call me when they were ready for me. So I did. The sitting felt like it took forever because, again, I was back to sitting rather than lying down, and it was just horrendous. And I've been trying really hard to remember everything that happened, but like the passage of time when you're in that much pain is just, yeah, sorry, it's intense. Anyway, fast forward a bit, maybe a half hour or something, and a doctor came to get me. And he spoke, yeah, he took me to a side room where I got a bed. Oh my god, I got a bed. Ugh. It was still just in the emergency department, but the fact that I could actually lie down, curl up, and not be sitting was just a relief in its own, even though I was still in a drastic amount of pain. So the doctor that saw me, he was really nice, and he asked me about my pain levels. And when I told him that the main pain area was a 10 and that the side areas were between an 8 and a 9, like he immediately was like, okay, that's too much pain for you to be in. Let's try and figure out what's wrong. So he did the touching, well, the like pushing on my organs and the trying to figure out where the pain is, but like it was so sensitive that like as soon as he tried to push down on my right abdomen and I winced, he was like, okay, we're gonna stop there for now. We don't want you in any more pain. So he ordered a chest x-ray, and he told me that they were still waiting on the results from some of my blood. They also wanted me to give them a sample, which of course, if they think it's a kidney problem, they have to look, right? And he also ordered paracetamol via IV to try and help with the pain. I think if a normal dose is 500 milligrams of paracetamol, this was 1,000. So yeah, once I had my chest x-ray done, they stuck me back in the room. Also, can I say that this whole time I was in the bed, like I got wheeled from the bed to the x-ray room. How crazy is that? I was in enough pain to warrant it, but it was still just the sort of, is this happening? I can't believe this is happening. I, oh God, it was surreal. But yeah, got chest x-ray done, back to my room, and then when I was back, they hooked up the paracetamol via IV, which, again, very weird. I've never had an IV before, and something that kept happening is instead of the fluids going in, my blood was coming out. basically the height of the IV kept, the bit of metal that kept the IV elevated kept falling, and every time it did, my blood was going the wrong way. And at some point I had to like yell for someone, like, help, because it was taking away my blood, and I've already lost a lot of blood, and I haven't eaten enough for this, help. So yeah, uh, they tried to sort that, but that happened a couple times. So yes, I lost a little blood to the stupid thing. Anyway, a little bit later, the main doctor came back and he was like, right, so far these things are clear. I only had this test done to rule out it wasn't an immediate kidney problem, and so far all of that's negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab gynecology, because that area, the next thing I can think of would be something, you know, maybe it's your ovary, maybe it's, yeah, basically. He said it could be the appendix, but it's unlikely. Nothing, basically nothing they've checked for would support that. So yeah, he called for gynecology to come see me, and it did take a while. At that point, I had called my other half, and, or not called because I didn't have reception, messaged him and asked him to come see me, be with me, because I was scared and it was a lot, and I didn't want anyone to see me the way that I was, but I desperately needed the support, and that's also part of why I ended up tweeting my misadventures, because it was kind of, other than wanting to share all these things, it's kind of a way to cope. Being open about it helps when it's such a serious situation. So, right, yeah, messaged him. He was going to bring me some bits from home, because we had no idea how long I was going to be there. And in the meantime, the gynecology team came to see me. Now, I've only ever seen one gynecologist before, and this gynecologist was so wonderful and amazing, and I wish I could just go back to her every time. She was so... She treated me like a woman in pain, you know? Like, I told her at some point that I'm sorry, normally I can deal with this a lot better, because she ended up doing an exam and I cried because I was in so much pain. And without sarcasm, without judgment, she said, no, I bet you are. I bet you are incredibly strong, but, you know, some days your body just can't. And it was just her acknowledging that, like, yeah, this isn't normal. Was just, I guess, refreshing, and it was nice in its own way. So, yeah, she asked me about my pain levels, because the paracetamol was done, and I was just like, this hasn't done anything. At home, I've tried cocodamol, paracetamol, ibuprofen, nothing. And she was like, okay, you can't be in this much pain. No, this is ridiculous. So she ordered morphine for me. And then what she wanted to do ultimately was a scan and a laparoscopy to figure out what was going on. And I was like really surprised, because a lap is something I'm on a waiting list for anyway, because yeah, a lot of doctors suspect I have endometriosis. She and the other doctor also think maybe that's what's causing the pain, we don't know. But she kind of was willing to find out, and I was like, what? But they were out of beds for the night, so, because she wanted to place me in the gynae ward, but there was no place for me. Yeah, they were full. So she told me that they were going to transfer me to the next closest hospital and recommend that this be done there. And that was basically the last I saw of her. Oh, I really wish I'd gotten her name, but oh well. And from there, my other half arrived, and that was, it was so good to see him, because I was feeling all kinds of things, and just physically having someone there was just so nice. He was like a ray of sunshine, and yeah. And whilst I was, we were waiting for the next step, and he brought a book of things to do in Toronto because we'll be going to Toronto later this year, and he was reading them out to me. Although I can't remember if that's before or after the morphine. No, I think that was after. Okay, so the morphine experience. So the the doctor came to check on me, and she was like, "Have they not given you painkillers yet?" Because this was like a half hour later, and I was like, "No." And she was like, she kind of rolled her eyes, and she was like, "Okay, just hold on. We're gonna get this for you." And I'm like, "Okay." And so what happened? Yeah, just filming.
Very sorry.
It's okay. Sorry. Um, yeah, so someone came in, and all I heard, because they were gonna just stick it in my little tap. All I heard was that, okay, well, we're gonna give you some anti-sickness medication, and I'm like, okay, fine. I didn't, and then a couple minutes later, another doctor came in, and I guess he was checking on the dosage that they gave me, and he was like, okay, how are you feeling? And I was really confused because I was like, you only gave me the anti-sickness medication. Should this be making me feel this way? Because it was like, if I moved my eyes, everything was like it's like a lower frame rate was the closest thing I can think of to compare it to. It was, God, it was weird. Uh, and he was like, we gave you the morphine. The anti-sickness medication was to go with the morphine. And I was like, oh. And he was like, okay, we're clearly not going to give you more morphine. This is enough, but we are going to give you codeine to go along with it. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay. Oh my God, it was incredible, and not like, it was just, I've never had this experience. And the incredible part of it is, as soon as it hit my system, my pain stopped. And it was the first time I've been pain free in days. And again, I've been taking codeine and paracetamol and ibuprofen, and it's not done anything. But like, the moment the morphine hit my system, it was just massive relief from the pain. And the fact that it took morphine for it to stop was just horrible. Like, no one needs that. I mean, I'm grateful I got the relief, and I'm grateful that the doctors took me seriously enough to help, because in that moment, again, I needed it. And God, morphine. I've only ever had morphine once in my life, and I was 8, and I had half of a tiny, tiny little pill because I had one of my first migraines, and my parents didn't know how to treat me, so I got half a pill of morphine. It knocked me out. The next day I was fine. That's my only experience with morphine. This was like, I can't even say, because I've accidentally gotten myself codeine high, and that's when I take my cocodamol without any food in my stomach. This is, I think the only word for this is drugged, honestly. But yeah, whilst to keep me focused, Ray was, reading Toronto things to me, and just being there and experiencing Nina on drugs, which was something. But yeah, a little while later, 2 paramedics came by, and they're like, "Hey, are you Nina?" And I'm like, "Yes." And they're like, "Right, we're here to take you to the other hospital." And I'm like, "Okay." And that was the first time I had to stand up since being on morphine. And holy crap, I'm glad I had people around me. It was actually really hard to walk. My legs felt like it felt like my thighs were like 20 times heavier, and that the knee to my foot was a lot lighter. So I felt like, I don't know, it was, anyway, I'm glad I had people around me. I could walk, but I think anything would have just like tipped me over. So hey. Yeah, so paramedics to the new hospital. Paramedics were great, lovely, loved them. And they registered me into the other hospital. And in the other hospital, I had to sit in another waiting room for 2 hours. Now, thankfully, because of the morphine, sitting didn't hurt. So, hey, that's something. And yeah, they finally called us up to the gynae ward, which is where they were going to keep me. Yeah, sorry. This is where things got a little stressful and upsetting, but when I finally went upstairs and I was told that, yeah, I'd be having a bed for the night, it wouldn't just be like for a couple hours or whatever, but at this point it was already like 9 p.m. or almost, no, was it 7, 8? Somewhere around there. They told me that my partner couldn't stay with me because it was an all-female ward, and I got very upset. I got so upset because I was already feeling overwhelmed, and for personal reasons, as soon as I stood in that room, I felt panic, and I was like, I can't do this, I can't stay here, I can't. But to see a doctor and get more help, I had to, and because I was an emergency patient still, they wouldn't have let me go home anyway, so, yeah. Hospital wards bring all sorts of bad memories and feelings for me, so it was rough. I tried to put on a brave face. I don't think I did it much because Ray knew how upset I was, and yeah, there was nothing we could do. He had to go home, and I felt so bad because he came all this way to be with me, and he couldn't stay. He was amazing and wonderful, and he said that he'd be back first thing in the morning. So yeah, parted ways, and I just cried in the hospital bed, cried, because I didn't want to be alone, because this was insane. I've never stayed overnight in a hospital before for me, and I just, how is this happening? At this point, the morphine wasn't fully, it was wearing down, not wearing off, but wearing down. I was a little bit more aware of my body at that point, and I think you don't sober up on morphine, but I definitely think the reality slap of this scary thing happening kind of got in the way. But yeah, so yeah, it was lights out shortly after that. So I stayed in the hospital ward overnight. I didn't sleep well, not surprisingly, but I also wasn't super. I don't know. I didn't sleep well, but I didn't feel exhausted when I woke up at 6:30, because yeah, on and off throughout the night there are different machines going off. There's nurses doing their checks. There's a couple of people there that were post-op, so they had to have things changed overnight and stuff. So I was probably waking up every couple hours until 6:30 when a nurse woke me up and said, "Hi, Nina. So a doctor's gonna come see you. We're gonna get a scan done for you, and then we'll take it from there." I'm like, okay. So yeah, one doctor came by and said what they're suspecting. So they knew I had a cyst on my ovary because I was told that by my GP last month. That it was like 5 centimeters, which apparently is really small, and that it would probably resolve on its own. But I told them that in case it was in case it was important. And so they wanted to check that out. So that was step one. Ow, sorry. And yeah, so I had to wait. I got told that at about 7:30 in the morning. Ray showed up around 8:30ish, bit before 9, and it was wait. In the meantime, I unfortunately did not get more morphine, but they did give me more codeine, so that helped to kind of manage. I wasn't at a 10 pain-wise yesterday, which was Thursday. I'd say 8.5. So yeah, that was fine. It took a couple hours. I didn't have the ultrasound until I think it was 11:30, almost 12. It might have been a bit before. It was between 10:30 and 11:30. Sorry, my concept of time while I was there was not amazing because I spent most of it lying down in pain. So hey. So yeah, had the ultrasound done, and then went back to the ward to await results, which took another hour or so. And this is where things went bad. So I was seen by, I guess he's the head consultant of the gynae ward, and another doctor that accompanies him. And he told me that the ultrasound, they took both an internal and external one. He said that ultrasound is fine, the cyst is gone. As far as we're concerned, nothing more to be done to you. And I was like, what? But I'm still in pain. And he was like, yes, but you know, your bloods are normal, your the swabs we took normal, everything normal, so you're not emergency anymore, you can't stay here. And I broke down, and I was just like sobbing, like, you don't understand, you really don't understand, I am still in so much pain. How can you just, how can you let, how can I go home? How I can't wear pants. I can't sit in my desk chair. I've been off work all week because I've been in so much pain. How can you just let me go? And yeah, through sobs, so many sobs. And you know, Ray was with me, thankfully, because all he did was just repeat what he said. And the worst thing he said was like, we're not, you know, there's no magic wand in medicine. You couldn't just come in and have us cure you. And I was like, I wasn't looking for a cure. I was looking for answers. And but yeah, after that, Ray tried to, I guess, politely argue with him, and I was just crying because I couldn't believe it. It felt like someone, like, if I wasn't already in pain, it felt like someone kicked me in the stomach. Because with the other gynecologist I saw, it felt like I was so close to getting the laparoscopy, which would maybe give me answers to why I've been in so much pelvic pain, like so much incredible pelvic pain, and at the moment specifically on the right side. And it's kind of like he just took the carpet out from underneath my feet, basically. And he said that if I really wanted, I could have a second opinion. But that, as far as he was concerned, nope. Bye. And that was kind of it. The doctor that was with him suggested they could get the pain team to come see me so that I could try and manage in the meantime. But I just cried more at that idea because I've seen their pain team before and they're not good. They don't listen. They don't give a feck. They really don't. So I wasn't really into that idea, but Ray asked them to just give us a minute, and yeah, just crying, and bless him for being so supportive and understanding and just holding me while I was, yeah, crying, being angry, being hurt, and just once again turned away because it's not serious enough, right? And I know that at that point, once they know my organs are all intact and there's nothing in my blood suggesting I'm dying, it's not an emergency anymore, and I understand that. But I'm not kidding. I haven't been able to I can't wear jeans at the moment because the pressure hurts. I can't sit on a chair for any prolonged period of time without that stabbing feeling. And this isn't normal. This isn't okay. I shouldn't be in so many levels of pain. And this happens to so many people, and, you know, specifically non-men, basically. Non-cis men. It just feels like, when is it enough? You know? I constantly feel like I'm having to prove how much pain I'm in. And I shouldn't, and like, that was what was so nice about the gynecologist I saw in the first hospital, is I didn't need to. She believed me, and when she was examining me, she told me, look, if what I'm doing hurts too much, tell me to stop and I will. And when she was, and I said stop, she was like, okay. And she did, and she was going from that to having a male doctor just completely, so I'm trying to think of the word. I don't know, it was just It was awful. I felt horrible. I felt like a lost cause, and I felt like I didn't understand why he couldn't understand how much pain this is and how difficult this is and how I can't live my life right now. But yeah, so once I stopped sobbing, Ray asked me if he wanted to get the doctor that was with him, the female doctor that was accompanying him, because she seemed a little bit more reasonable to speak to. And she came by to speak to me and went over my options and kind of rephrased what he said, but in a much more empathetic and sympathizing way. So I appreciated that. He was just so flippant and like the holier than thou attitude, and just ugh. If I could fire him, I would. You don't speak to people in pain that way. You just don't. Anyway, she was nice. She said she went over the options, which were I could get a second opinion with a female gynecologist, which is what I want at this point, because in the last week I'd seen 2 male gynecologists who've written me off and not understood. But she said that there might not be anyone that could see me today. I'd have to wait for tomorrow or come back another time. So fine. And then I asked her if she could find out when my lab is scheduled for, because I was referred to that hospital for one, but the wait time is something like up to 14 weeks, so it's a long time. She said she'd find out, and then she also said that they could try and prescribe me higher pain medication, but that I'd have to wait a couple hours so that I could take them, be observed in case something goes wrong, and then I could go home with a prescription for them. So cool, she goes away. And then me and Ray are just sitting there talking, waiting, and waiting, and waiting. And at some point, I'm like, right, they're clearly not gonna, like, give me any more injectables, so, could they take the blood tap out? I don't know, I'm sure it has a proper name, but I don't know what that is. So, blood tap. I had to ask, like, 4 different nurses before it came out. Each one was like, yeah, we'll come see you in a moment, we'll get that taken care of. Half hour goes by. And so I kept asking until, like, there was this one nurse she was alternative, she was great, she had, like, colored hair, tattoos, and, like, she was like, hey, I'll come sort you out, and she was great. They took that out, and then from there, it was just basically waiting for my prescription before I go home, and waiting for the doctor to come back. I think we waited a total of 3.5 hours before I was like, I can't stay here anymore. So, thinking about the whole, how long I waited for a bed. I'm not emergency, I'm just taking a room here. Why am I still here? So I tried to speak to a nurse and I was like, right, I'm just waiting on a pain prescription. Is there any update on that? And she's like, oh yeah, we'll get you sorted. It'll only be like codeine and paracetamol from me, but yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Go back. And nothing happens, so I go back a little later and I'm like, hey, so about that prescription, and she was like, oh, well, the doctor still hasn't signed off on it, that might take a couple more hours, so... And the idea that they just leave me, a non-emergency patient, in the bed, in a full ward, for that much time, when, someone else who probably needs it, someone who might have been in as much pain as I was the day before, needed it, was just... So I was like, look, can I just come back for the prescription another day? Is that something that's okay? And she was like, yeah, you come back tomorrow? And I'm like, okay, fine. So I got my stuff and we left. Spoiler, it's tomorrow and I'm not going back for it because I'm just gonna wait for my doctor because he can prescribe it. And that was the end of it, I guess. It was rough. I really didn't like that second hospital. I didn't like how inattentive the nurses were. I didn't like how flippant the doctors were. And I wish I didn't have to have been transferred because the doctors at So the first hospital was the North General Hospital of Manchester. They were wonderful and supportive, and their bedside manner was A+. I mean, it's what can you do, right? So I'm a bit more recovered today. Yesterday I wanted to sit down and film this, but I was a little bit too much of a mess. I have since showered. I've had a very decent night's sleep in bed with my other half, so I got all the cuddles and snuggles. Both cats slept in a bed last night, which doesn't happen very often. So yeah, I think I only missed out one detail, is that I ended up fasting for 24 hours during my hospital appointment, because on Wednesday night, the doctor I saw, the gynecologist I saw, said, look, don't eat or drink anything, because, you know, if you do have the lap, which I want you to have, if you eat, you'll have to wait another 12 hours. And I'm like, okay, cool. So they didn't actually, and then, yeah, so if I ate at, so yeah, for Wednesday, I ate at 11, the 2 small pancakes. I had a cup of tea at 5 p.m., which was my last drink. And then, yeah, I didn't eat again until almost noon the next day. It wasn't even, like, they told me I couldn't have water either. Although I told one doctor I needed to take medication, and he was like, okay, if you have small sips, it's okay, but nothing, like, don't go, like, gulping water. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, yeah, I think if I'd done what I did before, where I was, like, tweeting everything that happened, I would have been able to go into more detail, but I didn't have it in me. It's just, it was so draining of an experience, and I'm so thankful that when I do openly talk about these things, I have, like, my friends, mutual strangers reaching out and, you know, supporting me, loving me, and being so compassionate. It means a lot. I mean, I called one of my good friends, Jess, on the phone when I was on my little morphine journey, and bless her for listening to me, and yeah, just bless her for everything. I'm seeing her next weekend, and I'm super, super hyped, because we're gonna talk and have food and drink and yeah, have fun. But anyway, thank you for, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you for sticking around. Again, I mostly made this for, like, my friends and family so that they could get the full story, and anyone else who wanted to, like, catch up on what's going on with Nina. So from here, I am back home. I am off sick today again to kind of recover. It's the last sick day I have, so I'm have to go back to work next week, or try to. If I can't, then I'll need to look into other things like statutory sick pay, because, like, I am sitting right now, but I'm underneath this, and I also have a really fat pillow that I'm sitting on, so I'm kind of angled, which is good. But yeah, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Just thank you, and I hope that this story is at least informative, and if you're also suffering with pain, then maybe it's a comfort to know that someone else is going through it too. And again, at the moment, my pain levels are more manageable. I haven't taken my painkillers today yet, but I'd say I'm at a 7, which is roughly my normal. So yeah, I'm gonna have some food, try to have some painkillers, and yeah, just fulfill some Etsy orders if I can manage it, and just stay on the couch all day. So yeah, yeah, thank you.